All right, welcome Mario to the show. I'm so excited to have you here and talk all things structured water, hydration, and so much more. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Danielle. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I would love to learn a little bit about you, why you got started in this field, and just what really lights you up about what you do.
Well, I was always very much passionate about the health and wellness. So I always knew that our bodies have a remarkable ability, native ability to repair itself. So I was always searching for the ways to kind of assist our body in that process in a powerful way, because we just have to assist it. It already has this intelligence to help itself heal itself and to thrive. So this led me to kind of open a natural pharmaceutical company, which I run for years and helped thousands of people. And it was really I was really happy with that whole project. And it was really kind of gratifying thing to do. And after many years, I believe a decade, I sold the entire business to Walgreens. And then I was
Whoa.
and then I was kind of thinking, okay, I want to now immerse myself in something that is going to be for the highest good of all, something that is going to check all the boxes, so to speak, from personal to universal, something that will help not only people, plants, or animals, but actually the entire planet. And this Analemma project checked all the boxes.
That's
So it's
awesome.
really, 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 really something remarkable. And this water truly, truly, truly is a blessing. And to be honest, off the bat, I can tell you that we feel that we are stewards of it, not the owners of it in any way or form, because this water creates such a profound effect that it's kind of, we don't feel that we own it. We feel that it belongs to everybody.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I love that mission and vision that you have, not thinking small at all, just really thinking as big as you can and aiming really high and finding something that sort of checks all those boxes. So tell us, if someone has no idea what, structured, unstructured water is, what do people get wrong about water? What does the average person not know that might be hurting them? And where does this structured water come in?
Yeah, it's really interesting subject. We definitely believe that the science of water is going to be the revolutionary science of 21st century, because
Mm.
we actually realize that there are worlds hidden in it and people are completely unaware. I mean, I will tell you one fact which most people aren't aware. We are 99% of our molecules water. We're 70% water in mass, but 99 in molecules.
Wow.
Which basically tells you we're very clever H2O. So it's really interesting when you look at it from that perspective. There is something extraordinarily important about water if 99% of us is that. So in our research, we realized that, and we tested all kinds of water all over the planet, that currently water exists in a chaotic state, meaning that H2O molecules move chaotically. They crash into each other constantly. Since all of this happens on an atomic level, we're completely unaware of that phenomenon. That chaos has an effect on us, even though we're completely unaware. But anyhow, we found what we believe to be the natural state of water. When we created what we call the Aǹalemma stick. We have other applications, but then you can show it exactly. So people can see there is a liquid within the crystal vial. This liquid is what we call the mother water. It takes 1 full year for us to create the mother water.
Ooh.
1 full year. Since water, now we can go into a bit deeper into the whole science of it. Since water
Yeah.
is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of frequency of energy, it will actually pick up any frequency that's surrounded by it. So the key element is what's the dominant frequency around. Whatever is the
Mm.
dominant frequency, it's going to pick up its frequency, its energy and vibration. What we managed to create is the most positively dominant frequency there is. And we tested many waters, and through our process we created something which is really dominantly positive. So we put it in this crystal vial. Crystal actually serves just as a superconductor, so it just transmits the frequency of mother water. So when you swirl the Analemma through the water, what happens is that all the chaotic H2O molecules that comes into close proximity to it, they start to mimic its exact structure. That's why it's so elegant in a way. And one very important thing, because there've been scientists all over the planet that created some form of structured water. We tested basically almost all of them, and when they do create some form of structure, but the water goes back into chaos between a couple of minutes and day and a half. But with Aǹalemma, and we tested it now for 5 consecutive years, with just one swirl, what you're doing now, the water will stay in this very particular coherent state, liquid crystalline state, 5 years later. Wow. That's why there is the difference. That stability has a profound effect on the resilience of our entire system. And we really did a lot of studies on it to definitively prove the biological effect this water has on humans, plants, and animals, and environment as well, which we are all going to kind of touch upon. So that's the to kind of explain it in a very simple way. If you take a light bulb, and if it has 5 watts, it will give you some light. But if you take 5-watt laser, it will drill a hole through a table. A laser is a coherent form of light. And we're talking about coherent state of water. That's where the true power of water is being unleashed. That's what God intended for water. It could do so much more for our health, even though we're completely unaware.
So this is so interesting to me. So the natural state of water is in a chaotic state. And so that means that if you put water like out of your faucet, or you get a bottle of water,
it's not natural, it's normal.
The
normal state of water at this point in time is the one which is prevalent. But when you put it in a coherent state, that's where it comes to what we believe is the natural state of water.
Got it. So if I were to turn on the tap, like, get some water out of the faucet, or a bottle of water, or even like fancy, expensive spring water or something, this water is mostly going to be
all of it is chaotic. We actually tested all of it. So there are only places where you can find this real coherent state of water is away from the civilization at springs and wells. But even there, what we noticed is as soon as you take the water out, after a couple of minutes, that water will go into chaos.
Wow.
So it needs to stay there. And this is also very interesting, kind of, we hypothesized why all of this is happening, because usually people back in the day, you had a river, and river has this left and right vortex, and it keeps the water in this very special coherent state. But as soon as you take it out, it actually loses its state of coherence. But we found a way, in a very natural way, to bring it to this very dominantly positive frequency. And any H2O molecule that comes into close proximity, as I mentioned, mimics its exact structure, and it stays that way. So when you just make a swirl of Aǹalemma through the water, that water will stay in that very particular state. We now, as I mentioned, tested 5 years, but we kind of hypothesized that it's forever, because if it didn't lose coherence for 5 years, we don't expect it to lose it anytime soon.
Awesome. So what are the health benefits? Because you mentioned that there's benefits for us, for plants, for animals, for the earth. So what are these benefits of drinking structured water versus the chaotic
regular
water that we're used to drinking?
Yeah. So I can kind of early on our whole science, we kind of did very thorough scientific research on plants. So our two founders, Dr. Eric Laracher and Dolf Zantinge, they actually picked up a lab of a famous German professor, Fritz Popp. He developed this technology called biophotons. So every living thing exudes light, and you need very, very delicate technology that can capture that light, that can capture every single biophoton. So what we did early on is that we grew tomatoes with regular water and with Analemma water, and then we measured the vitality of every single tomato. And we realized that tomatoes that were grown with Analemma water exude 60% more light than the tomatoes that were grown with regular water. So they had 60% more vitality. And we did many studies on it and definitely proved this is extraordinarily repeatable. I can make one kind of connection with humans. Then we decided, okay, let's see what's the correlation between, like we were talking about, the energy of the plant and the energy of humans. So we're thinking, okay, what kind of study can we do? And we decided to measure the ATP levels. So ATP is the adenosine triphosphate, is the primary energy currency of the cell. It actually is responsible for powering the majority of cellular processes in the body, including muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, biochemical reactions. If you have high levels of ATP, your cognitive performance is much higher. So your focus, your memory, everything. So ATP is extraordinarily important for any process in the body. So how we went about it, how we did the study, we did a double-blind placebo-controlled study where we took luciferase, is the enzyme that catalyzes light production in bioluminescent organism. And due to its extraordinary sensitivity, you can measure intercellular ATP levels. So we did the baseline test where we measured ATP levels in humans, and then they drank the water. People drank the water for 2 months without changing anything else in their world. So didn't change their diets, didn't change their exercise regime, nothing. And we had, when we did a second test, we had significant improvement, significant rise in ATP levels. So we're talking about 20% over placebo. So entire cellular energy of your body increased by 20% just by drinking the water.
Wow, that's amazing. Who wouldn't want 20% more energy?
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting how it works in the body. If body has only a couple of percent energy more, it can do so much. But if you give it 20% more, so we're not talking about just athletic performance. We're talking about any cellular process in your body needs energy. And when you drink this water, you really have significantly more energy for your body to work with. So this was really something beautiful and groundbreaking. It was really an oh my God moment for us. So this wasn't the only study that we did. We did several other. So I want to now take one step back. So we did the research on when we were doing, actually it was 2 or 3 years ago, on depleted soil. We understand that the quality of the soil on this planet is really in a bad shape. So it's almost completely infertile due to, you know, extraordinary abuse of the land from in part from the whole agriculture industry. So we took completely destroyed land, and one piece of it we watered with regular water, and one piece of it we watered with Aǹalemma water, and we wanted to see what's going to happen. So the part that was watered with regular water, there was no change whatsoever. Everything stayed the same. But the part that was watered with Aǹalemma water, there was a huge explosion of the biodiversity of the microbiome within the soil, so much so that the bacteria in the soil started to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere into the soil where it belongs.
That's unreal. That's amazing.
The land became fertile again, but there is one more very important element which really it's really cool. Usually when rain falls on the soil, the minerals go out, but the soil that was watered with Aǹalemma water, there was a huge retainment of the minerals. It didn't go out. And when you plant a plant or a tree or a veggie or fruit on it, all those minerals, they end up in the fruit.
Wow.
So the agriculture aspect of the whole thing is extraordinary. We are now actually investing a lot in the agriculture aspect because you're most probably aware, like spinach 15 years ago had 80% more nutrients than today. So that's really appalling. So you have to like eat 5 times or 6 times more spinach just to get the same amount of nutrients. With
Absolutely.
this, we kind of want to make this worldwide so that the quality of food will rise exponentially. And then people can get the same amount of nutrient just through regular food. And we've compared the nutritional value of plants that were grown with the Analemma water is much higher, and shelf life and everything. We are investing a lot in that science. Why am I saying this? Because then we again did a correlation with humans. So, and microbiome. So we did double-blind placebo-controlled microbiome study where we measured the dysbiosis index of the microbiome. So dysbiosis index measures the degree of deviation within the microbiome, taking into account all the different bacterial phyla and species and their weighing factor. So we had average 17% improvement on the dysbiosis index over the placebo. And when we compare the Aǹalemma group and the placebo group, Aǹalemma group performed 38% better. And this was actually a very short study. We're now planning to do much larger and much longer study, so we can hopefully expect even better results with this. And you know that science in the last decade and a half really kind of found connection between the health of our microbiome and basically any area of our health. We are not talking about just about digestion system, even though it's hugely important. We're talking about immune health, neurological health, mental health, cardiovascular health. So if your gut health improves, basically any area of your health is going to improve. So this was also truly awesome. And we are going down that line. We are enlarging the study. So we really want to have very concrete data.
That's
So
phenomenal.
yeah. So the third study is also very, very exciting. We were kind of also researching what would be kind of an awesome study that will show the overall health and wellness. And we came to glycan age. Glycan age actually measures the biological age of humans in contrast to chronological age. But what I love is how they're doing it, because their index shows you much more how healthy you are. So they're actually measuring the state of glycans in your body, tells you the state of your immune system. Glycans are critical for production of T cells. T cells are #1 cells of our immune system. They are the ones who actually hunt and destroy pathogens, viruses, bacteria that invade our bodies. So if you have a good state of glycans, you have powerful immune system. And the other part, which I also love, is that there is this balance between anti-inflammatory and pro-inflammatory glycans. So now everybody is aware that low-grade inflammation is the #1 cause of all the chronic diseases. So if that balance is actually anti-inflammatory, more towards anti-inflammatory, that means that you're much healthier. So they take all of this into account and give you your biological age. I know it's a long story, it's a bit technical, but I just kind of wanted to tell the story. So what we did,
I'm following. It's great.
and so we did a baseline test where we measured the biological age of all the participants. Then they drank 1.5 liters of water for 3 months a day without changing anything else in the world. They didn't change their diet, exercise regime, nothing. And at the end, we did another test. And we had between 1 and 12 years of biological age regeneration with almost every single person in the study. So that definitely proved that your entire system gets regenerated just by drinking this water.
So anti-aging effects, improvements in the gut microbiome, improvements in ATP and energy of all the cells and all the processes in your body. Am I missing something? These are
there is one thing that I didn't mention,
for the body,
there is one thing that I didn't mention, which is extraordinary, where this water shows the fastest results. This is amazing. we did a double-blind test with identical twins, and we measured their brain waves. Since water is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy, our brain waves are electromagnetic. It's interesting that we gave to one twin, we gave regular water. To the other one, we gave Analemma water. And doctor administering the waters didn't know which one was which, and twins didn't know which one was which. And we monitored their brain waves. As soon as the twin that drank Analemma water took one sip of Aǹalemma water, there was an instant better connection between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, an instant cooling effect on the brain, while the other twin didn't experience anything. So this is the fastest effect, which is kind of logical when you see this is an electromagnetic phenomenon. We prove that there is a long-term effect through all of these studies, microbiome, ATP, and a state of glycans, but this is something that happens almost instantly. And a couple of weeks later, we did another test where we gave the other twin Aǹalemma water, and the first twin we gave regular water, and we had the same effect. So this is something that definitively proves something that happens instantly. As soon as you take a sip, there is a change, and it's undeniable.
Wow. And it's interesting to me, the word coherence is really sort of standing out to me, because if the left and the right side of the brain are talking to each other better, I feel like overall there's probably more connectivity and coherence between all the cells of the body. Like everything is sort of communicating better. Would you say that that might be one of the mechanisms that's sort of at the root?
Not only that, you're right on the spot. This is exactly what it is. Water is the communication system. So if our body is in a state of coherence through water, because 99% of our molecules are water, then everything works better. But now I'm going to share with you something that blew our mind. It was one of the oh my God moments. It doesn't just work within your body. I will tell you why. So early on, we did studies on seeds, okay? And we took a couple of seeds and we watered with regular water, and a couple of them with Aǹalemma water, and we measured the biophoton emissions. So the seeds watered with regular water, basically there was no emission. They flatlined, it was zero. But the ones that we watered with Aǹalemma water, we started seeing this sinusoidal shape, which we didn't know what it was. We saw peaks and valleys of biophoton emission. And we didn't realize, we were kind of researching what it is, what is happening there, what it is correlated with. And then we realized that it followed the tides.
Whoa.
This water connects
That's
you
wild.
to the natural rhythms of the entire planet. So when you drink this water, you are electromagnetically not only connected within yourself, you're connected to the natural cycles of entire planet. So that was really cool to kind of observe.
Yeah,
this was also kind
cool.
of early on in our research, was really, these are the moments where we realize, okay, there is something truly special with this water. Because when you water with regular water, nothing happens. There is change, which is really palpable.
Yeah. It's another thing that just sort of popped into my mind is I wonder if for any future research or just, observational studies, if someone starts drinking Aǹalemma water, if a female in reproductive age, if their menstrual cycles might start syncing more to the moons, because
we already, I can tell you, we
that.
already had so many results. And,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not like intended to heal, treat, or anything. We have to kind of put the disclaimer, but we had so
Right.
many women tell us amazing results just by drinking the water with the whole cycle, fertility, and everything. So it's really kind of amazing to observe the effects.
That's great. So in terms of that anecdotal sort of responses from people who have used this, what are some things, we know what the studies are saying, which are absolutely incredible. What are some anecdotally, some things that some people report after drinking Aǹalemma water for a period of time?
Well, there are extraordinary numbers of testimonials. But, we have to kind of be very mindful of what, this is, again, we need to stay within the general health and wellness.
Okay.
Not to go, because, I can tell you that we received a lot, really, and people have amazing results, but we really cannot go into, all of our studies were done on healthy people, and even healthy people had amazing results. So, we have to stay there, but there are
Well,
really.
I appreciate that, you're the CEO of the company and you're not trying to you're just sticking with the evidence. And I appreciate that, but I'm excited, on a personal level, maybe offline, we can talk about that, or I can see if there's
I can
somewhere
share,
on the website.
I can share a lot. I can share a lot.
Okay.
We had incredible, and actually tell you one very interesting thing. Now we have this Aǹalemma, which is this stick, and very soon we're going to, now actually within a couple of days, we're launching whole house Aǹalemma. So you can install it in the piping system, so you don't have to swirl, so that entire water in your house will be coherent. But I can tell you one thing, we did study now, preliminary study, and results are mind-blowing, and we are actually going to do much bigger study, and then we can come back with the hardcore data, which we love, that everything is 100% scientifically proven.
Yeah.
So what we found out are incredible results when people just lay in Analemma water in the bathtub, because skin is the largest organ in our body. And if you stay in the water for 1 hour or so, you can actually take in even a liter of water. But since this is an electromagnetic phenomenon, I can tell you there are incredible pathways happening, which is not just how much water your body absorbed, but something actually very incredible happens when you just take a bath in Analemma water. And we actually had incredible, people had really awesome results in terms of cardiac output, stroke volume, the blood viscosity. Really interesting. But we are working on the study, actual studies and everything, and then I can come back maybe at some later time and tell the story. But that's why we kind of wanted to come up with whole house Aǹalemma, so that people, it would be very hard to swirl through the bathtub for 15 minutes to make it coherent. In this way, you just install it in your piping system and all of your water will be coherent. So this is kind of a nice way.
Yeah, that's great. I actually wrote down so personally, I have had this Aǹalemma wand for a little while now, and I've been using it just in my water. I'll use it for the water that I put in the coffee machine. I'll use it in the water that I put in the bone broth or to make tea or anything like that. I did hear on another podcast the benefits about using it for watering plants. So I've also started doing that, and maybe we could talk about that. But with the bathtub, I haven't done that yet. And I was wondering how long it would take. So yeah, if 15 minutes.
It would take some time.
Yeah.
That's why we're coming with this. We're going to come with various other applications as well. Our main thing is not to make it very expensive. We kind of wanted to make so that any person can actually get a hold of it, can buy it. So this regular Aǹalemma is its retail value is $180. And what's lovely about it is that it will create coherent water for you for life. It's a jewel, and you just need to take care of it, because if it falls, it will break. It's very delicate. I broke mine, and I was so bummed, even though I have them a lot. But for that reason, we are actually, even if someone breaks it, we just give them 50% off on the next purchase, because we know that it's kind of valuable, and you were bummed when it happens. It really is a special thing. So, but if you take care of it, and if you don't break it, it will actually create coherent water for life.
That's amazing. So how would someone use this wand? So if you're watching this on YouTube, you see that I have it here. It's in the tube. How do you use it, and how do you take care of it?
So you just take a glass of water, and you swirl. It depends on the volume of the water. If it's 3 deciliters, it's anywhere kind of 35 seconds. If it's much higher, then you go for like a minute and a half. And this is the lovely that we wanted to create something which is portable, so you can actually carry it everywhere
Yeah, I
you
bring it
go.
with me.
You can travel with it, you can do whatever. So it's something which is portable. And we are now actually producing, in a couple of months, we're going to come up with this beautiful kind of decanter for water, like a pitcher that you can just put water inside and it will make it coherent, so you wouldn't going to have to kind of swirl to it. So we have this regular Analemmas, we're going to have this jugs, pitchers, decanters, and we have whole house Analemma. So whoever can and want to install any of those, people can, and then they will get the result. That's the whole point.
So I wanted to know, going back to the plant studies, the watering the plants, I did hear on another podcast something about exposing a plant to like extreme heat or something like that.
Yeah, this is something
Is that the
anybody can
study?
do. Yeah, this is
Okay.
something anybody can do, and I always kind of invite people to do that. So you take 2 basil plants. Basil plants are very delicate. So you water one with regular water, one with Analemma water. And after 3 weeks, you can stop the water supply to both of them, and you can increase the stressor. You can increase the heat, and then you can observe what's going to happen. The one water with regular water will shrivel down. Analemma basil plant is going to resist in such a powerful way that it's very visual. For instance, I did this test myself. It wasn't scientific, but I did it myself. I have a house in the seaside, and I watered for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks basil plant. It was really big and lush, and which is also something that happens when you water plants with Analemma water. And I had to go for 4 days. So for 4 days of very high summer heat and no water, I came back like nothing happened. So this is something which is very visual that people can see. And it's also interesting, you just give it a bit of Analemma water. Even if it started to come down, it just bounces back. This is the thing. The resilience plants have when you water them with Analemma water, it's off the charts, really off the charts.
Amazing.
And exactly the same thing happens to us. When you drink this water, your body becomes resilient. I have to tell you one thing, it's progressive. We did this thing with tomatoes. So we grew 1 generation of tomatoes with Analemma water. We took the seeds out, planted them, and did it again. And then we did it for 3 generations. After 3 generations, tomatoes almost didn't need any pesticides. They became so resilient.
Wow, that's so cool. There's so many far-reaching potentials for this,
Yes.
it makes me honestly more hopeful for the state of our planet. Like you said, this does check all those boxes. I can see how it really, really does, just because, the state of our soils and the agricultural industry itself is just, we only have like 50 something harvests left. I mean, it's freaky information that
It
is
is
out
freaky.
there.
It is
So
freaky. And this is a
yeah.
simple way that we can really treat this. And I can tell you what I mentioned earlier, when we took depleted soil and we watered it with Analemma water, the microbiome of the soil exploded, biodiversity of it. And bacteria started to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere. Isn't this the coolest, simplest, and the most elegant way to treat greenhouse gases issue? It goes from the atmosphere to the soil where it belongs. The only thing that you have to do is just water the planet with it. It will change the microbiome of the soil. The soil is going to thrive, and the CO2 that we are so afraid of is going to come down to the earth.
Perfect.
So it really is amazing from when you look at it from that perspective. And the mission statement of our company is to make all bodies of water on this planet coherent. We already created this eco-friendly technology that we can install in the wells of the biggest rivers. It's a huge, we know we have to go to the governments and everything, but that's why we're working so hard on the science, because if we install it, then the microbiome of the soil, of the water, and the plant life and animal life would thrive. And all this water would end up in the ocean. Then we would have coherent oceans, and then we would have entire planet in the state of coherence.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Can you tell us what exactly this water is inside of the Analemma?
It's what
One.
we call, as I mentioned, the mother water. It's the
Mhm.
most dominantly positive frequency that we managed to create. And we actually radiated it in so many ways to see whether we can push it into chaos. And it always resisted. We cannot talk about the process because, it's,
Obviously, yeah.
yeah. And as I mentioned, it takes
Proprietary secret.
it takes one full year to create it. But because
Mm,
we're using this very special method, it doesn't go out, it doesn't go back to chaos. Water just stays and remains in this very particular special state. And I have to tell you one more thing. Uh, uh, Water is intelligent. You are probably familiar with the Japanese scientist called Dr. Masaru Emoto. Yes, so his,
yep.
yeah, memories of water, and he really was one of the pioneers. One of the experiments that I really loved that he kind of started, and everybody all over the world can do it, and they did it so many times, is you take two glasses, you fill them with water, and you put rice in both of them. So it's the same rice and it's the same water. And to one, he actually came every single day and expressed love to one glass. And to the other one, he expressed negative emotions. And after 10 days, the one that he was expressing love to, actually, there was a sweet fermented smell of rice and a beautiful color. You could eat that rice after 10 days. And the other one, the same water, same rice that he expressed negative emotion to, was almost completely rotten and started to smell bad. And anybody can actually do that experiment, which tells you that water is intelligent. It reacts to whatever you send to it. And to me, this is a huge message on how we should treat ourselves, how we should treat each other, because we are 99% water. If I send love to a person, I'm actually making an effect in the biology of that person. And that goes for everything, everywhere. That's why I
Yeah.
love, in all the religions in the world, they always have this kind of tradition or custom or ritual to say a prayer before you start to eat. You say a prayer over your food. You are literally changing the molecular structure, the structure of the water inside the meal. And when you eat it, all that beautiful energy ends up in your body.
That's amazing. And such a good reminder. And even just a reminder of our, daily thoughts that we're thinking, a lot
Exactly.
of us have that tendency to have these negative thoughts towards ourselves or speak, harshly to ourselves and look in the mirror and say negative things. And that does have an effect. It does have a biochemical effect. And so
Profound effect. And now we
yeah.
understand why.
Yeah.
Water carries the information.
Mm,
And that's why self-love is so important. When you love yourself, all the love ends up in your cells, in your water, so to speak, and vibrates. If I send love to myself, I'm going to vibrate love. And my entire biology will reflect that. That's why it's so important to love ourselves and to love each other.
I
And
love that.
what I also kind of, it's amazing to me how nature, through water, nature is teaching us how we can unleash our true power. So you see H2O molecules in regular water, they move chaotically and they're crashing into each other like it's happening on this planet. But colloquially speaking, when those same H2O molecules join hands, then their true power is being unleashed. If
Mm,
we enter into state of coherence between ourselves, then our true power is going to be exponentially higher, and we could do so much more.
absolutely. So many big lessons here, but I love that the laws of nature, we are part of nature, so everything
Yes,
applies to us. And so I like how there's these threads that if it's what's good for the soil is good for plants, what is good for animals, because we are part of nature. We're not separate from it. And it's so easy to forget that and to try to, the Western view of trying to dominate the earth. And I love that your perspective is learning from it so we can work with it and harness its powers to restore and also benefit us, this beautiful like symbiotic relationship. I think it's just amazing.
you said it in a so beautiful way. We know that Mother Earth is the hidden voice of this project. We just know it. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. And our science clearly showed it. Everything on this planet is connected, and water is a communication system. So it's
Love it.
beautiful. Truly, truly, truly beautiful.
It absolutely is. And I am so happy to have this conversation with you. It's a little bit different from some of the conversations I typically have on the show. I talk a lot about blood sugar and metabolic health, but if we are 99% water, this is a conversation we need to have, because I am absolutely sure that there's no doubt in my mind that this is going to have a direct or indirect effect on our metabolic health. I mean, if it's improving our gut microbiome, then that's going to be that next step, is going to be that improvement in the metabolic health. We mentioned, microbiome improvements are going to improve the health of our entire body, every single, place that it functions. So again, everything is so connected. And so I'm really excited to share this with my audience. And I know that I do have a coupon code for everyone. I'll leave it in in the wrap up at the end,
Mm.
but I'll put all the details to the website where people can get one if they want, because I love that, it's like, one, I travel with it every time I go to a restaurant. I'm like, anyone want structured water? Like swirling everyone's water around. And, people are like, what is that? And it's a really great conversational starter. And it's really nice to, my cousin came to visit and I was like, oh, do you want me to structure your water? She's like, oh my gosh, you have something to do that. That's amazing. So it's great that this message is really, getting out there and people are understanding that, and coming back to what you said at the beginning, the earth is self-healing, our bodies are self-healing, and so much of what we need to do is get out of our body's way and then give it what it needs to heal. So if I were to cut my hand, I don't need to do anything. It's just going to start healing itself, right? The body knows what to do. So
Exactly.
tapping into anything that's going to enhance the intelligence of the body by, what I said earlier, like improving that connection, the communication of all the cells in the body together I can't wait to see just, the profound effects that it's going to have on the entire planet.
This is what we are actually all about. This is exactly why we are here and what we want to do. That's why we're so kind of hopeful. It will be awesome. I know it's going to take time, but it will be totally cool if we could kind of get large cities, they have water supply. We can make the water coherent. And usually when you put water through kind of this rectangular kind of piping system, it kills the vitality of the water. But since this water is so resilient, it will actually, when you open faucet, it will still be in a coherent state. Now that would be remarkable, because then everybody will have this water. I mean, it will take time for us to kind of get there, but that would be amazing, that anybody everywhere have the water it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then this water helps, just like you mentioned, it assists this natural process in a powerful way.
I love that. So powerful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and thank you for the vision that you have for this company and the impact that you're making on so many lives. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would just like to invite people to come
Yes,
to
yeah.
coherent-water.com. And if they want to follow, because we're doing so much studies, you can
Yeah.
jump on our newsletter and you can just be up to date with what we're doing, because we're really doing a lot. And I can tell you, we barely scratched the surface of the beauty of the science of this water. So we're really, really, really excited about whatever comes our way, because I haven't even touched, there are some areas which are really also kind of really amazing. But there is time when we have hardcore data, maybe I can come back and
Yes,
share the
absolutely.
developments on it. It's
Yeah,
really
I love
exciting
learning
time.
this. And I love the fact that it is so heavily research based, that you guys are, it's not just like, oh, we think, and a few people said this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's it's really nice to feel like you can trust a company that is giving you a really good product that is doing so many wonderful things. And so I will link that in the show notes, and so people can keep up with all the latest research. And we'll definitely have to have you back on maybe in a year, and you can give us all the new scientific updates.
Thank you, Danielle, so much for having me. And thank you for being the lighthouse that you are, because this is exactly what we need. We need people who will spread the relevant information at this particular time, something that can help us connect, and something that will assist our bodies and entire planet to heal and to come back
Yes,
to our natural state of bliss, I would say.
love it. Thank you so much for being here. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you so much.